Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to have you with us on this pop-up Zoom call. For each of us, the time varies. Some of us, like here in Jamaica, it is 11 a.m. Others, it's 12 noon, and others, it's 7 and 8 and various times around the world. But wherever you're calling in from, wherever you're joining from, it is indeed our pleasure to have you. And it is our hope that as we go through this brief but meaningful training, that each of us will gain something that is indeed valuable from this moment. My name is Marlon Cole. I'm a member of the Vertiverse team, and it's been my pleasure to be a part of Vertiverse and to share in the vision and mission, goals and dreams of our movement. And I like to call it a revolution. It is a revolution. It is a movement. And I believe, like all of us on this platform and the other members, more than 14,000 members around the world, that we are destined to change lives and to help men and women to become better at what they do and ultimately to be better at themselves. And so it is my pleasure to be with you. And this afternoon, evening, morning, whatever the time zone is, I want to share a little bit on the subject of goal setting. You see, the truth is that goal setting is central and integral to all that we do. Or might I put it another way, ought to be central and integral to all that we do. And very often we do not achieve our goals and dreams because we did not structure them, we did not do what we should do with them. And so this afternoon, morning, evening, night, it is my pleasure to just introduce the subject with a view that there will be a part 2 and a part 3 and as many parts as it will take for our members to get the message and to start to practice goal setting. I have chosen to discuss with us then this afternoon what is called SMART goals. S-M-A-R-T, SMART goals. And the word SMART in this case is an acronym for the goal, the type of goal we will discuss. But first, I want you to listen to what Jills of all trades actually said. A goal should scare you a little, but excite you a lot. Yes, and I want you to bear this in mind. A goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. And I might even want to modify that as to say, it should excite you a whole lot. If you have such a goal, if you have such an ambition, if you have such a dream, and very often we juxtapose the words goal and dream to mean the same thing. And so for the purposes of this discussion on this platform at this point, we will do exactly that. We will speak of it either as goals or as dreams, because we are saying they are one and the same for the purposes of this discussion. So your dream, if you care, should scare you a little, but it should excite you a whole lot. It should become the means of your motivation. It should become the means by which you are attracted to the execution and fulfillment of that which you need to do to achieve that goal vis-a-vis that dream. I want to discuss with you then, in brief terms, what we describe as the SMART goals. I said earlier that the word SMART, S-M-A-R-T, is an acronym for, here, S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A stands for achievable, R stands for relevant, and T stands for time-bound. This then is the core of the discussion. Yesterday, while we were online in this pop-up call, someone made a statement with regards to what their goal was and what is it that they wanted to achieve. And the person made a statement to which I retorted, it was not quite a goal. So here this afternoon, we wish to share, to be able to break down this whole concept of a goal. It was in 1981 that a gentleman by the name of Duran came up with the idea of this acronym called SMART, goals. And it has taken on proportion over the world ever since, to the extent that even universities are now teaching this SMART goal method as a way of getting individuals to appreciate their goals, their dreams, and where they want to go. So let's dive right into it. S. The S stands for specific. In order for your goals to be specific enough for you to understand them, then you need to be able to ask yourself some relevant questions as it relates to the goal or goals that you have. And here in Vertiverse, we want to establish this because it's relevant to that which we're doing and to what each person intends to get out of Vertiverse as an individual. So we want you now to think of setting your goals. But as you set your goals, I want you to measure those goals according to these 5 principles. Specific. The goal, in order to be a goal, must be specific. It must have certain dimensions and details to it. So, for example, if I say, I want to buy a house, that is more like wishful thinking, because wanting to buy a house does not tell me nor anyone else what exactly I want to achieve. You see, a house could be a shed somewhere. A house could be a mansion somewhere. A house could be a cottage down in Negril, Jamaica. What then do you mean by a house? And so the first question that must be answered is, I must outline the specific nature of this house that I want. How many rooms do I want in the house? How many bathrooms do I want in the house? What exactly do I want in that house? Do I want a jacuzzi in the house? Or do I want a Grecian-style jacuzzi in the house? Is it to be a split-level house? Is it to be decorated with windows all around? So is it to be a glass house, a wooden house, a concrete house? Is the house to be made from steel and blocks? What really is it that I want when I say I want a house? So you would understand then that if I am not specific, if I can't nail it down to the last detail, I really do not truly have a specific goal. So that is very crucial, therefore, in the development of the goals. So that is S. M stands for measurable. In other words, the same goal that you have just described in the details and the various dynamics and dimensions that it should have, you must now be able to measure the goal in the sense that as you move towards the goal posts, you must have trackable devices. You must have a measuring standard by which you determine, am I getting to my objective? Am I fulfilling my goal? Am I meeting the specifications of that specific goal which I just described? So as I go forth, I will need to know, as it relates to a house, I will need to know all the dimensions and details of the house. And alongside that, I need to know how many bags of cement, how many tons of steel, and all the particulars that the house requires. So I can also determine whether or not I have the affordability to build the house. And therefore, as I go along, I can measure step by step my success and my progress. You see, we see a lot of people in Jamaica and around the world where the house goes up to a certain level, comes up out of the foundation, and is going up, and suddenly it is as if the owner died. But guess what happened? They actually ran out of money because enough planning did not go into the development of the program. In other words, the goal was not specific enough, it was not detailed enough, and therefore the measurability was not there. And as such, they did not know at what stage they would need what. So as you measure your goal in terms of your ability to track your progress with that goal, it then leads to the other idea of achievability, that is A. So now you must now determine if you can achieve the goal. And here is where this takes us now. The goal must therefore be actionable, meaning I must be able to take specific actions towards the fulfillment of that goal. I must know that the goal is achievable, attainable. Those are words that go along with it. And so I will know that the goal is supposed to stretch me a bit, but it is not to break me. And that is where we started out first by saying that the goal, that your goals should scare you a bit, but should excite you a whole lot. Now, if your goal is like that, then you have a real goal, because you will see that it is bigger than life, so to speak, as it relates to you. It is immediately outside of your comfort zone, but at the same time, it's attainable. At the same time, it's achievable, because you already determined its specifics, so you know those specifics. You determine a measure by which you can track what you're doing, and so as you progress, you now know that it is attainable, it is achievable. And then we come to the R in the word SMART, and that represents relevant. You see, ladies and gentlemen, any goal that you decide to pursue must have some relevance to you, meaning that this particular goal must not only be reachable, but it must also be relevant. And relevance here means that the goal fits into my value system. So that presumes, therefore, that you have a value system. It presumes, therefore, that you know why it is that you want to do what you're doing. And that's part of the big question, the why. Why do I want this goal? What objectives and desires will the goal fulfill for me? What pleasure, what satisfaction, what fulfillment will the goal bring to me when I have attained or achieved the goal? So it must be relevant to you. It must be relevant to your environment. It must be relevant to your belief system. It must be relevant to your economic status. It must be relevant to your socio-economic situation. It must also be relevant to your political and to your historical. So the goal must have a certain kind of orientation that when you look at it, you see who you are in the fulfillment of the goal. And therefore, because it is a little outside of your comfort zone, then that goal is going to be pulling on your resources, your mental, your spiritual, your psychological, your emotional, also your monetary and other resources will be called upon for the fulfillment of this goal. But it will be done because it is relevant to you, to your space, to your time, to your family, and you could take it wider to your region, to your country, to the world. What then is your goal? And finally, in this SMART concept of a goal, and remember I told you this is but an introduction, the T stands for time bound. You must have a specific time for the fulfillment of your goal. And that says it all in terms of time. But here's what someone said. Years ago, I heard someone say that a dream without an action plan is really a nightmare or a daydream. Think about that. A dream without an action plan is really a daydream. And if you might have gotten it in the night, then we will call it a night dream. The fact is, there must be an action plan in place to help you fulfill this SMART goal. And a part of that action plan is the fact that you are going to have specific timestamps eventually on the goal. As you move through from being specific and detailed with your goal to being able to track your progress and measure what's happening with your goal, and then you see that your goal is attainable or achievable, even though it is outside of your comfort zone, and so it pulls on everything you have, that's okay with you because it is relevant and important to who you are and where you want to go. Alongside all of that, that dream must be enveloped in a time-bound situation. You must have a time. So let's look at it again. Let's look at the house, for example. And the house in this case could be your Vertiverse program. It could be your marriage coming up. It could be sending your child to a university. It could be building another business. That is your house in this case. So first of all, as we described earlier, the house, I must be specific in my description. And one of the first things I might want to have in my mind about my house, which is my goal, where on earth do I want this house to be situated? So I'm talking about location. Because the location will determine the angle. It will determine the view. It will determine the style. It will determine a whole lot of stuff. So you begin to narrow in based on your location. You then now will decide on the kind of driveway you want up to your house. Is it going to be a circular driveway? What kind will it be? Will there be a pool in the yard, or will you have a jacuzzi in the house? How many doors? How many rooms? How many bathrooms? How many kitchens? And all the specifics of the house. You would have had that nailed down. And then as you move towards the goal, you have it being measurable. And now you know it is achievable because you've got the resources, you've got the skills, you've got the manpower available, and you can put it together the way you want it. It's relevant to you because it is a dream house. It is something you've always dreamt of and always wanted. And now you know that you want to have this house completed by the time you're 35, by the time you're 50, or you might want to give it a specific year. It should be completed by the 31st of December, 2025, but the time must be very specific. And so in essence, what I'm saying to us then is this. As members of Vertiverse, who have got a dream and a vision and a goal for where we want to go, measure that goal by these 5 principles and see whether or not you really have a goal. So is it that you just want to register students, as many as you can? You see, that is not specific enough. You need now to set numbers to it. How many do I want to enroll, to register? Over what period of time do I want to register them? When should I achieve my registration fulfillment, the numbers? What types do I want? How many do I want that will be just free students versus to how many do I want that will be paid students? And if I want a certain amount to be paid students, why do I want that many or few to be paid? Does that number of paid students fulfill my financial goal in Vertiverse? So I must now know how much it is I want to make out of Vertiverse in terms of money. Because remember, it's two things we're offering. We're offering education and we're offering finance. So if we're talking about the paid ones, we're now beginning to talk more about the monetary side. So we must now determine how much do I want? So I need to look back at my overall life, the goals I have, the bills I need to pay, the objectives I have from my general goals for my life. I can then draw on a goal for Vertiverse based on my general goal. Then I can make a specific goal for Vertiverse, fine-tune that goal according to these 5 principles, and then I'll be on my way. Another way to think of your goals is to think of what we call the journalistic questions. Yes, the journalistic questions. And I don't have those in my slides, but I'll tell you then. Every journalist, ladies and gentlemen, whether it is CNN or BBC or whoever they might be, journalists in Trinidad, in Jamaica, in Africa, wherever around the world you are, every journalist in his work of journalism answers at least 6 specific questions that help him get the story right. And these questions are, and you should ask yourself these questions about your goals as well. The question is the 5 W's and the 1 H. So we talk about the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how. Let's see if we can get that again. The who, the where, the when, the why, the what, and the how. I might not have given you them in that particular order, but order doesn't really matter once you have all 6 involved. So you see, as it relates to your goal, you now need to ask yourself the question, who do I need to help me fulfill this goal? You are the first person involved in the goal, but who else do you need? Oh, you might need a certain number of students to be registered with Vertiverse, some of which will be free and some of which will be paid, but you have determined the who. Who are going to help me in terms of my training, my development, and all that? So the who is important. And then you look at the what. What is it that I really want to achieve? And then you go to the why. Why do I want this thing? What will it fulfill for me? And then, of course, you have to look at the where. Where do I go to get it done? And thank God we're saying the place to get it done is Vertiverse, right? As it is right now. And then we also want to ask the question, when? That's a T in the SMART. When do I want to have it done? And then the H is relevant. How? How? What methods? What techniques? What plans? What actions? What activities must I perform in order to get that job done? So if you look at the journalistic questions as well, they can help you to really formulate your goal and put it in proper perspective. But to have a goal being to just make a general broad brush statement as to what I want to achieve without giving it the specifics and all the details that will guide you along the way is not to truly set a goal, because you will end up not getting where you want to go. So if you all successful people have worked out this whole concept in their goal setting so that they were able to achieve the goals. So the goals were not achieved by accident. They were in fact achieved by specific thoughts, specific plans, and so on. So as I wrap it up, therefore, one of the things we must ask ourselves is, how do we execute the SMART goals? That is absolutely important. And one of the things we need to do for sure is we mustn't just talk about the goals. We mustn't just think about the goals. When the thought comes, we must pencil the goal. we must write down our goals so we can think them through, ask the right questions, and get them being specifically designed for the purpose of our fulfilling them. And then, as we said, yes, you must track your progress and you must create regular check-ins for yourself. Check it to see that it's happening over and over and over again. Have certain timelines that you will check on your progress and see how well the goals are being achieved. And then, of course, guess what? You should, and this is a powerful part, you should find yourself accountability buddies, whether it's a wife, a husband, a friend, a business partner, a church member, a child, someone who is in business with you in Vertiverse. But yes, find someone who knows what your goals and dreams are, who has a copy of it, in fact, because you've written it down now, so you can give a copy to that person. Find such a person that you're confident, that you trust, that you can work with, that you would have as a part of the directorship of your company, because now this person is one of the directors of your program. He now has your goals and dreams. And check in with this person and have this person check in with you periodically to see how well you're doing. Talk about them often, share on them, discuss ways and means to make them better. And when you shall have succeeded, celebrate your dreams, celebrate your goals, celebrate your wins, because that is absolutely important as well. It was Albert Einstein who said, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or to things. I ask you then today, what is your goal? Why do you have this goal? Is it specific enough to become a magnet to pull you? Is it measurable? Can you track your progress phase by phase and step by step? Is it achievable? Is it truly achievable? Or will it become a frustration to you because you made it too big and you couldn't manage it? Yes? Is it relevant or realistic to your value system, to your dreams, your ambitions, to all the things we spoke of earlier? And finally, do you have a specific time frame within which you desire to achieve that goal? If you do, I would then say you have a real goal. Once again, from Albert Einstein, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. I thank you so much. It's been my pleasure to have done this little session for you.